All right, we'll get started real soon. We're just waiting for one more panelist to join us. We can also, our videos, we can get started with our video anyway, which is a little introduction to us. So we won't say too much about ourselves before we do that. So we'll maybe turn off our screens and our microphones for now so you can listen to the video, but do just pop in the chat if there are any issues with the video, and we'll see what we can do, and we can wait for Jen in the meantime. But yeah, we'll get the video started now anyway. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Shari from Australia. I have a background in archaeology and anthropology.
Hey, I'm Jen from the US. I have a background in classics and I'm currently writing my master's thesis.
I'm Emilia from Mexico and I'm a recent graduate from World Heritage Studies.
Hi, I'm Mesa and I'm from Thailand with a background of architecture. I'm currently writing my thesis.
Hi, I'm Loredana. I'm from Italy and I'm a recent graduate from World Heritage Studies.
Hi, I'm Tania. I'm from Canada. My background is in archaeology. I'm a current graduate student.
Hi, I'm Rachel from Malta. I have a background in tourism and currently studying my master's in World Heritage Studies.
Hello, I'm Devashree. I'm from India. I have a background in architecture and I'm currently doing my master's in World Heritage Studies.
Hi, I'm Meetali. I'm an architect from New Delhi, India, and I'm currently in the third semester of World Heritage Studies in BTU Cottbus, Germany.
Hi, I'm Mafe. I'm from Colombia, New Zealand, and my background is in art history and Latin American studies.
Hi, I'm Vibhuti. I'm from BTU Cottbus, and I have a background in architecture.
I'm Ekta from India. I'm doing my PhD in World Heritage Studies.
Hi, we're the BTU Hub. Brandenburg University of Technology is located here in Cottbus, Germany, about 1 hour from Berlin. Our university hosts 3 heritage programs. There's 2 masters, one in World Heritage Studies and one in Heritage Conservation and Site Management, and the third program is the PhD in Heritage Studies. Programs host students from countries all over the world who have all crossed many borders to be part of this family. We come from an array of backgrounds such as architecture, archaeology, tourism, design, and history, just to name a few. We've all ended up here due to our shared love of heritage and the world's diversity of cultures. Given the current situation and the international profile of our programs, our past 2 semesters have been held entirely online, as I'm sure many of you have experienced too. This has meant that many students have stayed in their home countries, either because they simply cannot return, with many experiencing visa issues and travel restrictions, or because it's the best option in the current situation. The challenge for us with this has been to remain connected and part of the BTU Heritage Studies family when we're up to 16,000 kilometres apart. Hence, we've begun to understand borders in a whole new way and want to share just a little bit about our experiences with you today.
Hi, Emilia here. I'm at Schengen on the border between Luxembourg, France, and Germany. We asked heritage students what borders mean to them and got a lot of very interesting answers. Many answers were related to the physical component of borders, divisions based on language and culture, time difference, restrictions, protection, but also denied entry. One student mentioned that living in a foreign country when you aren't proficient in the language can make every small interaction feel like a mountain to climb. And I think that's a feeling that many of us can relate to. A few mentioned the Schengen borders, where I am, with an easy movement in contrast with other countries in different parts of the world, where oceans can even act as a very real and isolating borders. Even on a smaller scale, in times like this, during the pandemic, even the walls of one's apartment can feel like a border to the rest of the world. We realize that our perception of borders also often depends or has a lot to do with our different life situations and the privileges that we've enjoyed. And we know that not all borders are tangible. So especially in relation to the current global pandemic, many students mentioned that they feel disconnected because of distance learning, and that they have communication issues and they don't feel part of a community, both with the professors and with other students. So there's an increased distance between the professors and the students, and there's also a privilege that is associated with an access to technology and of all the resources necessary.
Now let's talk about how to overcome these borders.
After questioning the meanings and implications of borders amongst ourselves, we reflected on how heritage can be a powerful tool to overcome them. Borders are conceived as a separation between people who have different cultures, but heritage can become a means to share common cultures and traditions, and even to foster peace between nations or initiate intercultural dialogues and create a global community. Heritage can bring ancestral knowledge of different ethnic groups to the world and show the needs of the most disadvantaged communities on the planet. It is an essential component of political, social, and economic conversations worldwide. Heritage is linked to borders in the dimension of traveling. Here at Heritage Studies, we are all experienced and passionate travelers who through heritage are in close contact with other countries' culture, food, beliefs, ways of living, and thinking. For us, borders mean new discoveries, new cultures to experience, and new friends to make. Heritage sparks curiosity, love, and appreciation. For instance, be it a cup chai or a kappa or even matcha, tea is a simple representation of that heritage which connects us not just with our roots, but also with each other. Finally, we reflect on the pros of digitization of learning spaces and how sustainable they can be. One of the main positive aspects is that it is an amazing opportunity to be able to learn at a distance. It's a triumph over our traditional conception of borders. Not to forget that increased realization of being able to shorten distances makes us feel like we're all in the same place, even though we're continents apart. To combat the physical borders of distance, students from our university have created a number of initiatives to bring us all just a little closer together. We'll discuss more about this in our live session to follow.
All right, so we'll let that load, but as you saw in the video, we are the BTU Heritage Studies Hub, and we're all at the same university together, or have been. Open that one up. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed the video. We'd like to present to you on the topic of digital sustainability and looking at our heritage studies perspectives. Being affiliated with the university will give you our 4 perspectives, as you can see here, of how the pandemic has challenged us, but also how we found new ways to overcome these challenges as well. Just a short note, I would let you know that we really want you to interact with us. And now I'll get Rachel to put in the chat the link to the Jamboard, which is it's a Google initiative that you can jump on, and it's a little whiteboard application. So we'd like you to put any post-it notes, any little scribbles, any pictures that come to mind of any resources or opportunities that have helped you to overcome the challenges imposed by the change to the digital world. And then we can share these at the end, and the whiteboard can be a little visual representation of all the ways we've overcome the challenges as well. And in that, if you don't want to jump between screens and stuff, understandable, this technology has been quite a challenge in itself, but feel free to pop things in the chat, and then we can put them all together at the end and have a discussion as well, see what comes out of it. But yeah, so we'll let Devashree begin, and I'll hand over to her now for perspective 1.
Hey everyone, I'm Devashree, and I'll be sharing the perspective on behalf of those of us who are currently in various semesters and taking classes at BTU. For most of us who are at the moment actively involved with our classes at BTU, the pandemic was like a wall which cast aside our senses of normalcy, displaced our dreams of what the university, and it threw us in a still ongoing cycle of uncertainty over our futures. But we are definitely grateful that we had the chance to continue with our classes, that we received the support to keep going and do our best even in these unprecedented circumstances. Despite these invisible borders which are now keeping us apart in isolation and at distances, BTU has truly been a beacon of strength, keeping our community encouraged and in solidarity throughout. So taking everybody by surprise, this pandemic ended up confining us in different places across the world. Through conversations and surveys, we were able to gauge individual viewpoints of those challenges and opportunities which were felt during this time. We have presented them here, and you can see the positive aspects in the green cloud and the negative aspects in the blue cloud. While digital means have given some of us the chance to engage with each other differently, enable benefits which come from video lectures, and be with our families during this pandemic, challenges like different time zones, unstable internet connections, and adapting to new online techniques in various platforms are some among the many we suddenly had to overcome. And needless to say, the pandemic has also highlighted insecurities about our mental health and well-being, something which now has to be addressed more than ever. So an important aspect that contributed towards our physical and mental well-being in some ways during these uncertain times, especially when stuck inside the four walls of our homes, has been involving ourselves in various activities. I personally developed a very engaging relationship with my mother's many plants at homes, and gardening became a great source of comfort. Such activities offer strength and hope towards a better future, especially as participation demands focus and allows ourselves to feel diverted when times are tumultuous. The warmth of summers then turned into lonely winters, but there was just something about staying busy with activities that kept us going and made us resilient. So we want to say, whenever possible, maybe try to learn a new skill during this time or make that batch of cookies to indulge yourself. At the same time, though, we don't wish to downplay how difficult times have been and the importance of recognizing when we might need external support or professional help. Because what matters most is knowing that you need to be okay to get through this period. Jen will be talking more about how support was offered within the BTU community with this regard. Many of us realized this time to be an opportunity to find new ways to reinterpret our values while in mandatory confinement at home. Several of us had the chance to spend more quality time with family, learning about our traditions and heritage, myself included. We wanted to share a few such instances from within our BTU community with you. Tania, whom you can see in the picture on the right, told us about how there is a yearly Italian tradition of canning tomatoes at the end of every summer, where enough tomato sauce is preserved to last through to the next year. It is a laborious activity which takes an entire day, and that's why families gather to work together. Everyone has a task: wash, sort, cut, puree, cook, can, and bundle. Many Italian families take part in this cultural tradition, even Italian immigrant families, such as that of Tania's, who was confined in Montreal, Canada during the previous semester. She says the rewards of late summer tomato sauce are enjoyed throughout the winter, and the traditional knowledge is shared through lifetimes. Rachel, whom you can see in the picture on the left, has shared more about a recent venture in traditional Maltese boat building she was a part of. So she was in Malta during the previous semester and took advantage of this situation by approaching the last Maltese traditional boat builder, who took her under his wing to learn the craft. During the time restoring the boats, he also expressed gratitude for the interest one as young as she took in his work. It inspired the creation of an association which will bond traditional boat making enthusiasts. The Malta Traditional Boats Association was then launched last December, and it's proved to be quite successful. The unforeseen circumstances that led to the pandemic and its after effects are still very obvious in everyone's minds and lives. The essential restrictions enforced on us have limited our activities to a point where a way forward has been tough to consider. However, the heritage community in general has come forth and developed ideas which are far out of our possible imagination. One of our modules, based on museum architecture and exhibition design, which is conventionally about spatiality, helped us understand how museums and curators have been a true example during this time, showing us how they've used this situation as an opportunity to enhance their online spaces and, in fact, provide meaningful learning and interaction for various people across the globe. The concepts and proposals which have been developed are radically different and yet befit the sense of a traditional museum. Similarly, professionals around the globe have found new ways to operate and promote the economic sustainability of artists and artisans alike. And we as students who are learning to cope with the situation have truly benefited from engaging with these examples. I think we all know how difficult it has been, but we're grateful to have made it thus far and hopeful that the challenges have allowed us to grow in a way that's only going to be more meaningful looking ahead. I'll now ask Shari to take over and continue with the presentation and talk about her perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Devashree. Wonderful to hear your perspectives as well, because they are quite different to our own. So we, as master's thesis writers, as you'll hear from each of us, obviously facing a very different situation as well. We kind of came up with 3 themes of separation, we called them, that created challenges and forced us to adapt to the digital world. So these were resources, mental health, and skills. So I'll take a look at the first one, which is resources. So one of our three main challenges in which challenges and resulting solutions occurred was the access of these resources. So a first challenge was accessing the necessary literature for writing a thesis. Libraries are closed, books are expensive, and being a technical university, ours doesn't have sufficient access to everything that we need. So to overcome this, we've had to find new ways to access information, with one solution being the sharing among our own networks to help each other find resources. We used group chats to find resources and a university-provided VPN to ensure we always have access to the books at our university library. A second challenge was in the access to fieldwork opportunities for research, which would complement our thesis work. Whilst this still remains a challenge for many, some wanted to go to their home countries for fieldwork, for example, there's been the possibility of undertaking interviews online, as well as virtual site visits. And there's also been a need to adapt in a really creative manner. You need to justify your limitations throughout the writing process, but also understand that there are alternative ways to obtain primary source information. So an example that I give here is a virtual site tour of one of my case studies from my thesis, which is Budgebem Cultural Landscape in Australia. So this really interactive online tour really helped me get an understanding and feel like I could actually kind of be there. So a third issue arose in understanding what the thesis writing process means and what am I supposed to do, as well as finding supervisors. And this is especially when you aren't meeting professors currently in your regular classes, for example, and you can't accost them afterwards to ask questions. So to overcome this, there's been digital office hours introduced, which have been useful. And I mean, really importantly for me, we created a thesis writing group in which we kind of shared all our ideas and really have helped each other connect. We set common challenges, we share our common challenges, we set goals, we hold each other accountable, and we just feel a sense of community, which is really nice. In addition, we've had study-related conferences, which they share ideas and tips, and they answer those pressing questions that kind of everyone is asking. And then finally, there were problems with scheduling, of course, time differences. As you heard before, a lot of us are in different countries at the moment. So this is for having meetings with supervisors or interviews, for example. But we found that digital surveys, such as those provided, for example, by the Doodle platform, are really useful, and we're grateful for the access afforded to us by online webinars, conferences, and the recording of these events, which has opened up realms which would otherwise have been inaccessible, often even in regular times when you'd have to travel somewhere or pay to get somewhere as well, which the ACMC is a perfect example of this as well. So with that, I will hand on over to my colleague Jen for her to chat to you about our second theme.
Thanks, Shari. So the second area in which we identified challenges and solutions was in the maintenance of good mental health. Devashree also mentioned this briefly. But no matter which stages of life or career we're in, I know we've all struggled with some degree of mental health challenges during this pandemic. And whether the struggle is from digital burnout or it's related to issues that are caused by or exacerbated by lockdown and isolation, stress is just really high for everyone right now. So for us, new kinds of networks, such as the thesis therapy that Shari mentioned, have been super valuable in providing us with support and ideas for how to cope with our current struggles. It's been especially valuable for us as thesis writers to have contact with recent graduates from our program because they've been able to give us some advice about how we can move forward with our theses. Of course, when we've been struggling with our mental health, as Devashree also mentioned, actual psychotherapy is really great help for talking out issues and learning new coping mechanisms. It isn't always easy to find a therapist, but the situation has made me realize that actually many universities, including ours, offer more support than people may know. Really, when dealing with this lockdown, one of the most important things has just been finding ways to feel connected. And these connections can be with other people, with animals, with things that we enjoy, such as hobbies or sports, with nature, or with some kind of purpose. So this slide illustrates some of the ways that I personally have used to feel connected during this time. The first picture is the picture of the cat, Hamlet, that I adopted with my flatmates in December. And he's really done so much to help with my mental health because just being around him makes me smile, and it's comforting to have him there. To his right, you can see the flyer for a storytelling event that our student council put on. And this, along with other events like trivia nights, has allowed students to meet up virtually and share their experiences and ideas. Underneath is a flyer from our Student Services Organization, which is one of the sources of university support that I mentioned earlier. The organization offers students many services, including mental health ones, and they made it possible for me to connect to a therapist. Before the pandemic, I had no idea that you could get 5 free counseling sessions through the university. Finally, one of my favorite ways to connect during this time has been through volunteering. There are always places that are looking for volunteers, and you can make new connections with new people and also feel like you're contributing to some kind of purpose. And if you're volunteering in your field, it can help give you a renewed sense of that you're doing something purposeful with your life and like achieving something in your field. And for me, it was also a great way to connect with nature, as the projects I worked on involved a lot of outdoor labor. So that's it for me for now on mental health, and I'm going to hand it over to Mesa to talk about our third section.
Okay, thank you, Jen. So the next one that we talk about is skills. So let's start with the communication skill, like to share your idea with supervisor in case about the thesis writer without seeing them in person, because communication is not about just speaking. So we face some language barrier, communication blockage with expressing our thought, like how can we express it to our advisor so they can understand when we only talk on phone. And to fix it, we learned some visual aid for explanation, such as drawing, sometimes use some diagrams, sometimes use some pictograms to communicate instead of just talking. And some specific term can be in various meaning that in each languages. So cross-checking the meaning to various languages with an online heritage group or community helps us, or helps me, to overcome the border and give the research a depth, and it helps a lot. Like in one research, I don't understand the term resilience, and another friend from 25 languages helped me translate all of them, and it gave me a lot of perspective, for example. And the next one is the hand-on skill. Of course, it's pandemic time, we cannot do a lot. It really helps a lot with the mental health. For example, in the UN website, you can always find some way to engage with your existing skill and build it up with that, which is really super safely to engage with. The next one is a new technical skill to operate group meeting and work online. We learn new platforms such as Slack, Asana, Trello, and I'm sure you can name it like or more and more than this. Learning new software like Photoshop, InDesign, or video editing programs can also help us in visual design and new presentation. Like we don't have to like use only PowerPoint. Now we can have some elements, picture that can communicate better. Something like that. And for the next slide, we have some example. In BTU, we keep each other like in touch, get updates with our newsletter by our program's student council. It's really helpful, have a lot of useful resource. And on the right picture there, you can see some pictogram that I use sometimes for communicating in my presentation slide for my supervisor. And also on the left side, you can see website UN Volunteer. I recommended you to Google it online. You can be like, you can just help people from across the world just in one click. Last time I am the interpreter in some of the webinars in Thailand, helping like promoting gender equality, for example, or translator or designer. You can do various things and just one click. So, okay, now let's see our perspective slide. To summarize everything that Shari, Jen, and I talked about, we wanted to use the 3 sub-themes of the conference to discuss how we have overcome the borders of the adaptation to the digital world. First, for reinterpret, we have gotten new perspective on how we can interact with and share heritage in innovative ways. We have learned how to leverage digital networks to find new ways to redefine heritage topics across different languages, cultures, and contexts. Second, we have gained resilience in our understanding for the importance of close networks. We have cultivated these in order to bring us closer together and to grow and adapt to the ever-changing situation like this pandemic, for example. Our new skill that we have gained have also increased our resilience. By being resilient, we have adapted to new resources in order to increase our capacity to react effectively to challenges. Finally, we have reimagined by expressing ideas in new ways, using new skills, such as through design to pursue our online learning experiences. Most importantly, we have reimagined the way in which we communicate with each other and have adapted creatively to that. And now we are moving to our next perspective. Passing on to you, Loredana.
Thank you, Mesa. So now let's dive into what the job market has been like for recent graduates. So for those in the field, is it not news that decent employment in the heritage sector is scarce? The situation is often stemming from an undermined importance given to the field from funding sources and from the fact that this sector is actually riddled with unpaid positions. In addition to the existing borders, the COVID pandemic accentuated the struggles faced by emerging professionals looking to integrate themselves into the workforce. We collected statements from our fellow class of 2020, and while every situation is different, we managed to identify some similar borders we have encountered this year. You can actually see some keywords highlighted here. Here you can read some of these statements by graduates who came to study in our program from all over the world. The situations of a graduation are various, with some of us finding jobs after March after and others who actually are continuing on the lookout. The main borders we identified are difficulty in traveling due to monetary concerns, visa restrictions, and the current COVID measures, increased demand in digital skills, already a trend which got accelerated due to COVID. No field work has meant obstacles for many intercultural and exchange platforms, for example, the cancelling of seminars, capacity building, and networking events. Then, of course, also revealing gaps in institutions, such as a weak disaster risk management or an outdated communication system, and the overall result of a lack of job offers. We also divided the main point raised by our fellow graduates between the three key elements of the conference. In reinterpreting, we identified the need to consider culture as a driver of well-being and change the way we view the economic and community aspects of heritage. In resilience, we can talk about being flexible and developing more skills and about knowing how to communicate the value of heritage and our value as professionals. And on reimagine, we can say that we shouldn't see the future so grim because it's possible to work with combined digital and in-person structures to learn from our recent past and also learn new ways of working and presenting ourselves. Finally, we want to present you with the same information already talked about on a problem solution chart. Some of these points are up to ourselves, such as being creative when it comes to our own narrative and being proactive in acquiring new skills. However, a lot of it depends also on the organizations where we work to create opportunities for employees to apply their skills in different ways or gain new ones, or to open their structures for inputs from new members in their teams and discover how they can actually benefit from giving recent graduates a chance. I'll now hand it over to Ekta to present an additional perspective.
So as you might hear, I am not Ekta. Ekta is actually with us today, but she's having a lot of connectivity issues, so she's asked us to speak on her behalf, but we're glad she's here. I hope you got to see her presentation as well. It was fantastic. She's told us that, just in a quote from herself, that she feels extremely lucky as well as responsible to be teaching a class during these unprecedented times. Well, it has been a learning experience for me, my team, and I try to make sure that we can connect to the students as much as possible in our online sessions. We are currently planning for our summer semester, which would be online too, and we are also using all the resources at our disposal to be resilient. Having said that, I would also emphasize on the importance of breaks and self-care time, especially when you are studying and working simultaneously. So thank you, Ekta, and I like that you're balancing your classes and fieldwork with masks and bottles of sanitizers at hand at all times. And I think the fact that Ekta couldn't speak with us today highlights that privilege we spoke about earlier in this access to the technology that's required for the simplest, well, what seems like it should be a simple thing as access to the But we thank her for being part of it today with us as well. So with that, I would just go over a few of our broad themes of learning opportunities, and I hope you've engaged and had some of these as well. Of course, being proactive, really taking on opportunities where they arise and as much as possible. Being resilient, we know we've all had to overcome a lot of challenges. Updating those digital skills. I've, edited that video, which I know is grade 1 video editing, but I really had very little digital skills before this, so I'm quite proud of myself for something like that. There we go, confidence of saying you can do it, and just having to step out there and putting your best foot forward as best as you can. But really, I think we all shared the biggest learning opportunity was how important and how valuable our networks are, whether it be friends, family, colleagues, or anyone else. For me, it's my housemates, for example. It's so important and so necessary to have these. So I think many of us have learned that as well. So now we want to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and so we can see Rachel's wonderful face. But yeah, we want to know from you which opportunities have helped you to overcome the challenges imposed by the change to the digital world. And
hello everyone. I would like to thank my wonderful colleagues for the amazing presentation. You have highlighted what was the challenges and also the opportunities. Very good. But now it's up to you, the viewers, dear viewers. I would like to address you. It's time for you to take the floor now. For those who are joining us now, feel free to express how you have dealt with the digital challenges in the pandemic. I have posted the link in the chat, so feel free to do it there, or else just input your opportunities and trust that you have thought about in the chat. I'll see that as well. Okay, so let's head to the Jamboard. I believe Shari, you'll be sharing the screen on this, right? Or should I just say what there is now? I see it's improving, beautiful colors here. Feel free to express your creativity there. You can insert pictures as well as you wish. Okay, so I'm going to take the liberty and go to the Jamboard now. So the question is, in other words, what was the one thing that moved you to create something productive, something creative in this pandemic? So I'm going to start anti-clockwise. Green is my favorite color, so I'm going to go with that too. So I see someone posted, reward yourself after accomplishing a task and it helps with the mental health. Definitely true. We talked a lot about mental health as Jen has expanded on this. I totally agree with this. Oh, I see a lovely picture. Sorry, I have to go to that. I see also this was also an opportunity. I see beautiful food there. I know food connects people. And of course, food is one of necessities. So pandemic or not, we have to eat, and this is what connects everyone there. Another green sticky note, immerse yourself in the new digital tools. Of course, we have learned so many digital tools here. What we knew before the pandemic, there were some tools who were developed in the pandemic. As we have seen, educational institutes had to cope with this. Some were prepared, some maybe not. And I'm not talking about just our masters and universities, but also for schools, because here we are talking about also creativity, resilience, reinterpreting and reimagining our tools to be more educative and sustainable. Letting go of perfectionism. Whoever posted this, I truly connect with you, because sometimes I also has this perfectionism going on in my head. Of course, we have to accept the situation as it is and go with the flow. That's a very important point there as well. Thank you for that as well. I see some flashing stuff going on here. Perfect, keep it going. I see musical notes here, of course. What is a pandemic without the arts? And this is something which we have stressed throughout this conference. Some people may say that art is not important, but what is this pandemic without music, YouTube, Spotify? of course, nothing. So this is the true value of the arts that we are speaking here. I see a small sticky note in the middle. Apologies for going into the screen for this, but I have 4 eyes here, but they're not enough. So trying not to compare myself to other people regarding progress and productivity. Very true. We have spoke about perfectionism, but this also goes hand in hand with this point here. You are what you are. You have to focus on yourself and just go with the flow. This is a very good point here, because we must not feel pressured with the situation. The situation is already, it is what it is. So we have to just focus on it. Very good. I see something creative going on here as well with clip art, talking to people. Yes, of course. As we have seen, networking is very important for us. And talking about the situation, we are not alone in the situation, and the power of words is just exceptional, and this is what is going to make us better. Another point that relates to this, that is accepting that feeling down is okay. We talk about it. Yes, Jen has also said the power of professional help. We must not feel ashamed about it. We have just to talk it out. Talk, talk, talk. This is the point that is going out from this. Is really nice. Online therapy might be an option that can connect you to someone from your own country. Helps with the language barrier. This is also what I can relate with. Well, I am Maltese, which if you cannot say from my accent, it's not Italian, it's Maltese. I'm the only Maltese in Cottbus. No one here to understand my language, my frustrations. Of course, this connected me with the community back in Malta as well. And yeah, the power of language. Sometimes when you speak in a different language, your personality comes out, your frustration comes out, it's your safe place. And this definitely is a very, very good point. Balance is so important during this time, staying engaged with work, yet remembering the line between work and life. Work and life and leisure. Of course, these are 3 points which we have to balance all the time. And this pandemic has been challenging to balance all this, of course. Social media detox from time to time. Yes. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever done this? If you ever done this, I've done this for a long time, where I had connectivity issues because I was working on ships before. So, you know, this has really detoxed me from, of course, I have nothing against social media. It's very good, especially at these times. But sometimes, you know, it's, you are receiving all this information and you are not cutting from, you know, the negativity. Sometimes what is negative to me might be different for you. So then again, this detox can be really good and zen at times. Someone said books, of course. For the students, sometimes we can have a book overload, but there is nothing better than escaping in a novel or something that is not uni related. And yes, of course, I truly believe that books have the power of switching us off and overcome this challenge imposed by the digital world. Lots of stuff has been going on in this Jamboard. 30 minutes walk every day. Don't lock yourself alone. Oh, this is so beautiful. Well, maybe it could be less for me. I've been a bit lazy these days. But yes, being outside, even like simply taking out the trash and being outside and seeing how we've been locked almost for a year now. So looking how nature has evolved outside, even by looking outside my window, I've been seeing the street. And it has changed a whole metamorphosis. Right now, it's so beautiful with snow. So yesterday was not like this before because it snowed last night. So being outside and seeing the changes that happened outside is just beautiful. Lots of stuff has been new here. Okay, I see this is a really small sticky note, so I'm really zooming in into the screen. Pomodoro technique, mindfulness and home gym helped me to finish my PhD, continue working online and having a healthy relationship with my partner. of course, we have been talking about like being alone, but the thing is, many of us live with people. So of course, it's important to be respectful to the people you are working with. It can be your partner, your spouse, your friends. Like right now, I'm living with 3 other flatmates. I just told them I'm going to do this conference now, so I know it's the weekend. And having this respectful and work life and leisure, what I said before, all balanced throughout is a very important thing. A new one, sticky note, has emerged too, actually. Connecting with the older generation to learn skills and new perspective, also getting closer to them and finding comfort together in hard times. This reminded me of my grandparents, whom I miss very much. If my grandma's going to see the YouTube recording later, greetings to her, because I can relate this, of course. The older generation, especially with the current restrictions right now, they're so alone right now, but they are a wealth of information, really and truly. They've seen history happening, and yes, of course, as history enthusiasts, not only we learn more about our subject, so to speak, but they are experienced in life, and they've had something worse than us, like my grandma, the Second World War. Of course, recently there was this Holocaust anniversary, if we can call it that, and of course, the Holocaust survivors, some of them compare the current pandemic with that, and we have to learn from this as well. Another sticky note, small photo project for yourself. I make a collage of work of the view outside my window every day for a week, and to see the change of the sky. Oh, how beautiful is this? Why did I not think of this before? This is very nice. So you can do this now. I know for a fact that some museums at the start of the pandemic have requested for people to do a diary, and which I have been doing, and later submitted to be in history, so to speak. And this is a wonderful, unfortunately, wonderful initiative that how we can voice our voice in history. I've seen also.
Sorry, Rachel.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off. I would just only say that we've only got a minute left. I definitely didn't expect such a vibrant, beautiful gem at the end of this, but I love it, and we will definitely post it online and get it out there. I would maybe say we can finish quickly with a question actually that came in on the chat, which is from Clara, and she also was talking about her master's program being online. In a very similar situation to us, it sounds. So she's asking, and maybe anyone has a perspective on this, given these experiences, do you think that universities should generally offer their courses with an option for remote learning because of all these challenges that we've talked about? Could it be a new way to break down borders and barriers? And maybe if someone wants to have a 1 minute about that.
I mean, I would say that it's definitely like a good idea and makes sense. Like, I think it will be kind of difficult to, once we're back to normal, there's still going to be a lot of people recovering from this for a long time. So it makes sense that you keep the accessibility as a possibility for people. And I think in that case, it's also going to be really important to keep up some of these networks and like these online networks and make sure that those people aren't forgotten if we keep that as an option.
Want to create like us versus them, like two very different streams of people. You want them still to feel connected and integrated. So that's going to be the challenge. There's another link on that Nicole has just posted that you can jump into another session to keep the discussion going. But we do have to sign off for now and say thank you so much for all your interaction, for everyone that joined us. It was a really, really positive experience. I'll jump over to the other session now if anyone wants to join me for a couple more minutes of chatting. But yeah, thank you so much once again. Oh, I had a quick, very, very quick thing to tell you is that if you want to contact us, I will put the information in the chat. We have part of thesis therapy. We have something called thesis talks where you can join us, chat about your thesis, complain about your thesis, get some ideas. So please do join us. Everyone is welcome. But yeah, I'll put the information. It'll be available. You'll see it. But yeah, we're BTU Hub. So come, feel free to chat to us. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.